Greetings and welcome back. This is the board so far, and today I am ranking zombie movies and some TV shows. At the end of the day, it will boil down to whatever zombie I like the most. A precursor, because I don't want to put the first movie and the sequel into this list, so I had to figure out whether or not the first movie or the sequel would count, except with The Living Dead vs. Return of the Living Dead. I don't know if that counts. They just have practically the same name, so I wanted to get one of them out of here. We've got The Evil Dead, which came out in 1981. It is about a guy that goes on a trip into the woods with his friends, and they end up encountering zombies from the Necronomicon. It's been a really long time since I've seen that movie, but I decided that I did enjoy The Evil Dead 2 more, just because it was what happened after the first movie and his spiraling into madness. I love it when a movie tortures just the main character, tortures the hell out of them, never gives them a break. And the special effects are amazing. That movie came out in 1987. And I chose Evil Dead 2, so it's down here. Zombieland 2009, which is about people in the zombie apocalypse trying to get towards where they keep hearing that safety is, but they can't necessarily really find it. Because everyone keeps saying that, oh, that was a rumor, Dobby, that's going to fall on you. And Zombieland 2, which honestly I can't remember too well, but I did like the one scene where it was like the zombie run. So Zombieland obviously won there, and I believe that that is Bill Murray's best zombie movie. I didn't even put The Dead Don't Die on the list. And then the other one was The Living Dead from 1968. Yeah, 1968. I can't focus on black and white movies. If they don't have sound, I can focus on them. If they have sound, I can't focus on them. So it was really hard for me to watch The Living Dead until there was a version on Tubi that was called the synthwave version, I believe. And it's neon green instead of black and white, and it has techno music playing in the background. And what I gathered from that is that still really hard for me to pay attention to. Moving on to Return of the Living Dead, which has two of my favorite things, punks and zombies. So I am more accustomed to this one. I love punks and I love zombies. So naturally it won because I'm biased. I moved my camera. I got past the hard part, was figuring out which version of the movie I was going to put in there, and I still seem to somehow forget that Reanimator existed. So I did not do a Reanimator one, but I did add Reanimator to the list. And I was sitting there, going around my house looking like, I wonder what zombie movie there is. There's so many zombie movies. What zombie movie do I like? I know there's one I'm missing.
Stanley, must be completely invisible. What? What? What is it? What?
So first off on the list, I'm doing zombies that they're not called zombies, but they are zombies. And that would be The Crow versus Hellraiser. In The Crow, it tells a story about how sometimes when the dead die, they have to avenge. Well, they still have something that they want to go after in life. They're not finished. So it's kind of like a ghost story in that way, but they're physical. It carries them along. They finish what they had started before they died. That's technically just a zombie walking. It's like they're dead, so you can't kill them. You can't attack them because it won't hurt them. You have to attack the bird itself, so it's kind of magical like that, but in Supernatural, which I'll talk about later, they also had like magical zombies that were reanimated due to a necromancer. Hellraiser is a movie in which there's this Pandora's box, and there's this person playing with the Pandora's box trying to find its secrets. He opens Pandora's box and, well, all hell breaks loose. In that movie, I would deem that there's a zombie because when bringing someone back from the dead, they have to keep killing other people to get the other body parts to recraft their own body. And that's a very interesting zombie in my opinion. So I would say in this case, I like Hellraiser's version of the zombie better. Next we have Reanimator 2 versus The Evil Dead 2. And with Reanimator 2, they both carry off after the second movie. Well, actually, no. Reanimator 2 just kind of forgets the end of the first movie and they create their own thing to go along with. And it's so campy that you just kind of gotta let them do that thing. In this movie, instead of Herbert West making a bride for himself, we all know what you are, Herbert. He makes a bride for his friend, Dan. There's amazing effects, and I love the lighting, and yeah, it's just a very campy, goofy movie. And if I had a nickel for every time that there was a zombie disembodied head flying around in one of the movies on this list, I feel like I'd have more nickels than I am aware of. Second one for that was Evil Dead 2, where it takes off after Evil Dead 1. And it's almost perfectly taking off right after. Yeah, it is perfect. The movie ends and then it picks right back up in the second movie. And I would not believe that those movies are like 6 years apart. I would have assumed that they stopped filming on the first one and instantly started filming the second one. But that movie is Ash trying to figure out if he's going insane, practically. And there's a good chance that he is. And for the zombies, it's hard, because these are two really good movies. But I pinned the good movies up against each other so the bad movies could shine as well. The effects on both of them are very admirable. I'd say maybe Bride of Reanimator, just because The Evil Dead 2 is mostly just Ash going through cabin fever. Hocus Pocus vs. Paranorman. Hocus Pocus is on here because obviously Doug Jones, he plays Billy Butcherson. I went as Billy Butcherson for Halloween this year. Wonderful zombie. We love the moth coming out of his mouth. Great practical effects as always, and makeup with Doug Jones. Go too much into Hocus Pocus, does it? Because it really doesn't have much to do with zombies. Paranorman is a kid's movie, stop motion, very beautifully, about a kid who can see the dead, but no one necessarily believes him, they just think he's weird. I would like flash back to the story with a witch, and the zombie designs were really good. They were really cool zombies. So I think I'm gonna have to give it to Paranorman, only because Hocus Pocus doesn't feature zombies as much. The next is a terrible comparison that we're gonna have to do. I'm going to have to get rid of one of these in the first round, and I really don't want to. Return of the Living Dead versus Zombieland. Very painful to write these out next to each other. They're both amazing movies. Return of the Living Dead is about this cemetery worker. He's going through the morgue, and he kind of comes across this crate. He accidentally opens it. The crate had this very terrible chemical, and it was holding a zombie inside. The Tar Man. An iconic zombie, which is actually the first zombie to ever say that he wanted to eat brains specifically. So you really have to think Return of the Living Dead for that. Where Zombieland is about this guy named Columbus, because he's headed to Columbus. And it's kind of like a found family zombie apocalypse movie where he doesn't really have a family, and he finds this one dude and they start getting along. He finds this girl, she screws them over, trying to survive the apocalypse together. It's really good. I love the comedy. I love Zombie Bill Murray, and it is his best zombie movie. I'm gonna have to give it to Return of the Living Dead because it is so iconic. I will say, I love the idea of Zombie Kill of the Week. Return of the Living Dead won again, and it's totally not because I'm biased towards punks and zombies this time. This time it's because I'm biased towards all the talk about rigor mortis. Dia de Agus Folte. This is my intermission. I said earlier that I would talk about Supernatural again, so while I am waiting for the board to fill up again, we'll talk about Supernatural and My Babysitter is a Vampire, which was my honorable mentions. They're both TV shows. They have nothing to do with zombies, but there's an occasional zombie thrown in there because they're both about hunting the supernatural. So in Supernatural, the zombies are risen by witches, I believe, like a necromantic curse on them to bring them up from the dead to do their bidding. I believe they describe what a golem is in Supernatural, and I believe that golems were just like a way to replace zombies. I really wanted to talk about in My Babysitter is a Vampire, where there's this powerful wizard or something, I believe, and he's trying to scare the main characters. And one of the main characters' biggest fear is being alone. It's like a curse on this character. Everyone in the world appears dead around him, so they all look like zombies. And the zombie, like, makeup and effects they did in that episode were literally so top tier. I replicated them in my painting up there. Open up to a zombie apocalypse, and that's practically what the makeup looked like in that episode. Welcome back, we're no longer in intermission. We've got the SC Diet, short for the Santa Clarita Diet, which was a TV show about a zombie outbreak that suddenly appeared where people subtly turned into zombies, and they were cooking people to eat, but they also had to like hide the evidence and all of that and find out why they were turned into zombies. And when the show officially revealed the fact on why they were turned into zombies, it practically killed the show. I don't think it was that bad of a reveal because it left things open where they had like a lot of places to go still, but people were like, oh, this is insulting. The whole fucking reasoning this entire time was for a joke, but it literally killed the show, which is just upsetting. I feel like it had potential. Shaun of the Dead, which is an amazing, my grandma would call it dry comedy. It's a British comedy about a guy and his friend, and it turns into a zombie apocalypse, and it's a parody of Dawn of the Dead, which I have never seen, but I have seen Shaun of the Dead, and I think it's still a great movie. I watched it with my friend on call the other day, and yeah, we're just like them, for real, for real. Obviously, there is a winner, and it's Shaun of the Dead. But I just wanted to use this as my opportunity to vent about the reveal of the Santa Clarita Diet getting it canceled. Here we have The Video Dead, which is like 1984, 1986 movie about this cursed TV that zombies crawl out of. And it's this horror movie geek that finds the TV. Oh, people keep coming up to him. This one point in the movie where it's quite literally, it's older, but it's quite literally the Sunny in Philadelphia clip. The character says, I am the trash man, I dispose of human trash. Literally just the garbage man clip. The zombies, but they try to fight the zombies with a chainsaw, but they try to tie themselves up in a tree to fight the zombies. they're using him as bait or something, but they gave him a chainsaw because he said that his favorite movie was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which, by the way, me too, but, the zombies are just taking sticks and going, wah, wah, like he's a human piñata. Amazing cinema, really uncomparable to Mummy, I'm a Zombie, which is what I am comparing it to right now. Mummy, I'm a Zombie was a kids movie that released Nickelodeon, I believe, because that's where I watched it when I was little. A little girl, I think she had an amulet, and she found out that she was a zombie, and she was going on this adventure where she ran into other monster kids. There was a scarecrow, which there's going to be zombies. Scarecrow zombies are the best. I'm going to claim that the video Dead won, and earlier when I said I was giving the not-so-good movies a chance, I was talking about the video Dead. So next here we have Brain Dead / Dead Alive, and Cemetery Man / De la Morte de l'Amore. With Brain Dead, it is the horror movie that has used the most blood. If you look it up, it will still say that Brain Dead / Dead Alive has used the most fake blood compared to any other horror movie, which honestly, that's a feat I hope to destroy one day. Also, at the same time, that movie's so gross, I'm gonna give it to them. Gross movie, gross zombies. It has some very iconic scenes like,
What in God's name is going on here? Evil is amongst us. Stay back, boy. This calls for divine intervention.
Kick ass for the Lord. I will never stop saying that. That scene is like, if I was making a list about best scenes in zombie movies, that scene would be at the top of the list. But Cemetery Man also has some like scenes in there that's like, god damn it, that's so cool and they know it. Cemetery Man is about a man that lives in the cemetery, and apparently he's young. I couldn't tell that compared to the rest of the cast. He's a young man who lives in the cemetery. He said, and I quote, "Never read 2 books in my life. One of them I never finished and the other was a phone book," which is so relatable. Moving on, further in the plot of that movie, the dead come back after about 7 to 9 days, and he runs the cemetery. His job is to kill the dead before they get out of the cemetery. But at the same time, death comes to him, and death tells him,
Smettila di uccidere i morti. Quelli sono già miei. Se vuoi evitare che i cadaveri ritornino in vita, tanto vale che tu uccida i vivi, sparandogli in testa. Ma mi stai ascoltando?
"Stop killing the dead. They are mine. If you want to kill the dead, you must first kill the living by shooting them in the head." He just turns into a serial killer. The first half of that movie is incredibly hard to watch, and I kept having this thing where I was watching that movie, would be like, oh my god, this is awesome, I forgot about this movie, and then it would be like, oh god, that's terrible. Maybe there's a reason I forgot about this movie, and then it would be like, oh hell yeah. And then it would just destroy me. It was a roller coaster of emotions, but I absolutely love that movie. Cemetery Man is going to be the winner versus Brain Dead, because Brain Dead is a movie that I will probably never watch again. And that, I applaud it. It grossed me out that much. Congratulations. Is Dark Harvest versus Pet Sematary. I love Pet Sematary. Pet Sematary is about a couple that moves into this house, and it's next to the highway, and the cars, they just keep coming by, run over the family's cat, and when they run over the family's cat, this old man, like, stand to see how sad the little girl is. He takes her dad up to the hill, and they bury the cat, and the cat comes back to life, but getting too close to the road, and the same thing happens to one of the kids, and in his grief, the dad's like, oh, well, what if I take my kid up there? And he does it against everyone's better judgment. Versus Dark Harvest. Do you have a movie where it's like, someone will be like, oh, this is my favorite movie, and you're like, oh shit, I've never heard of that movie before. I gotta one-up you by saying a movie no one else has heard of before in their entire life. Dark Harvest and The Video Dead is that for me. No matter what, I can ask someone if they've seen The Video Dead or Dark Harvest, and they'll probably say no. If they say yes, I applaud them. Dark Harvest is about this guy. He's a government orphan. He was adopted away. His parents die, and he gets their estate, so he goes to go see the house and stuff. But his parents were like farmers and serial killers, and they would kill people to make the soil better so plants and crops could grow. And because they did that, every so often the dead come back to life. And for some reason the dead are scarecrows, which I never thought of before. The dead are scarecrows, but they're supposed to be like fertilizing the ground. They're not buried. They can't fertilize anything if they're not buried. This movie has terrible acting, terrible effects, and everything else. But it has like behind the scenes in the credits, and I have it on DVD, showing you them trying to set this house on fire, and it's just not working. And the main actor in the movie's like adjusting one of the props that's in the fire, and he keeps trying to adjust it, and the crew's telling him to get away from it, and like its mask falls or something, and he just grabs it and tries to put it back on. It makes it all worth it. But sadly, I gotta say, objectively, Pet Sematary is still the better movie, even though I love Dark Harvest with all my heart. Here we have round 2, Hellraiser vs. Bride of Reanimator. Hellraiser vs. Bride of Reanimator. Hellraiser, it doesn't have necessarily that many zombies, but the zombie aspect of it is so cool. I love shovel kills. Reanimator had a pretty cool shovel kill. Like, my favorite part of zombie movies is when zombie movies add the shovel kill. I think that Herbert West is not just the shoe tying master, but he is also the master of this round, and therefore wins. But I love the aesthetic of Hellraiser, and it's nothing like what you think it is going into it. Nothing could prepare you for what it actually is. Next we have Paranorman vs. Return of the Living Dead. Paranorman's cool. I love the coloring in the movie especially. I love the bright green aspect of it. And that being said, it holds no torch to Zombie Punks, and the comedy in Return of the Living Dead is just more preferable to me. Which leads us to our next one, Shaun of the Dead vs. The Video Dead. Is there anything that could make The Video Dead win this argument? Biggest aspect, every quote made by the kid in the movie, like the part where he's like, "Come on, guy, you gotta let me use the chainsaw. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is my favorite movie. I've seen that movie 5 times. And as special as The Video Dead is to me, in my eyes, it definitely is better just because I can brag that I know the movie. But Shaun of the Dead is just the obvious winner, and I feel like there's nothing I can say. I guess the zombies in The Video Dead have more personality. You see them putting on wigs and stuff. It's just, I really do prefer the 80s campy movies. Sorry, Shaun of the Dead. I'm revoking that. It's The Video Dead. I am completely biased. Oh. Bella Morte dell'Amore. It's an Italian movie. It's very artsy, very gothic. I love the practical effects, the puppetry of the Angel of Death, that scene where he's staring at this grave and he's talking to it.
Dove credi di andare? Se non hai ancora capito la differenza tra la vita e me.
Pet Sematary. It's good and all. Just another Stephen King movie where the cemetery man had way more personality in it. They both had questionable plot points. Every Man is gonna have to be the winner of this round. That, and there is no way in hell you can beat going up close to a grave only for a zombie on a motorcycle to come bursting out of the grave. Where the how the hell did he get that motorcycle? But he was buried with his motorcycle. When he was buried with it, I was like, why the fuck is he buried with his motorcycle? Welcome to the semifinals. So with Bride of Reanimator versus Return of the Living Dead, you start to see that I've got a type of movie. Bride of Reanimator is a prime example of that. It's got really cool zombies and a lot of like zombie creations because they're just technically things that Herbert West is working on in his lab. The second movie, he has this like little creature that's like a hand, but it has an eyeball attached to it. So fucking with the fact that he has the ability to create in general. Actually, a really cool thing is in the first movie they put up a talking head poster as like foreshadowing thing. And it was so subtle that the director himself didn't notice. There's like a lot of cool things about watching Reanimator that you can notice because there was like the production itself was so low. Return of the Living Dead kind of has that low production thing, but I don't think it's seen as much as in like Reanimator where they had so much they wanted to do. Return of the Living Dead kind of has like the basic zombies. Of course they have Tarman and they introduced the whole zombie sprain thing. I would have to say, Bride of Reanimator is just objectively cooler. I can't believe it. They beat the zombie punks. Over here we have two movies that I don't think should ever be prepared, and this was my fault for trying to let the underdog win. The Video Dead, the underdog in the situation. Della Morte Dell'Amore. Della Morte Dell'Amore is so artistic. It's the second movie that has to do with the floating head thing. There was this point in the movie where this girl's head is in a TV box, kind of similar to The Video Dead. That's really funny that they're right next to each other. So this girl's head is in a TV box, and her dad comes in, I believe? And he's like, why are you with this man? Which she should not have been with. And she's like, but I love him, Dad, which, no, she's just delusional. Her dad, rightfully, was like, we're getting out of here. But she was just a head. It got so right. Like, it had the perfect zombies in a way. It had got, like, the perfect action subplot. It's got, like, all the right puppetry. And, like I said, it was really any time they did something good, they did it absolutely amazing. So I'm going to have to put them up high again. Also, like, this is just a nitpick. I love it when movies include pickaxes in the digging a grave process and they work in a cemetery. And, like, yeah, there's scenes where they're digging with the shovel, but when they're digging with the shovel, it's because it's, like, really loose dirt up high. Where when they're using the pickaxe, you can see in like the dirt where it's like dirt, and then it gets the rock layer. And that is such a good detail. I love that tiny detail. My phone died, and so did I. So, now that I have re-risen, let's continue the video. I've decided that there's going to be factors to decide which one's better, because I love them both, and I am definitely biased today. What we are going to do is we've got the cast, the plot, the outbreak, the zombies, and the taglines. We'll start with Reanimator. Bride of Reanimator, the tagline for Bride of Reanimator is, reanimate, till death do us part. The way zombies become an outbreak within the movie is that our main characters, well, we'll start off with cast, our main characters are Herbert and Dan. And what happens is that Herbert is a scientist and he has this needle of reagent. Now behind the scenes. Reagent. My cousin said, I wonder what they used to make that prop glow. I said, they probably broke open glow sticks and they put them in the tubes for the movie. We look it up after we're done watching the movie. They're actually credited as the first movie to ever use glow sticks as a prop. The outbreak happens because Herbert West, mad scientist, uses reagent. He takes it and he puts it into the dead. Intelligence level for the zombies. Zombies are varying in intelligence and overall mobility on how long they've been dead, because the longer they're dead, the more their brain dead, so forth. A lot of Bride of Reanimator is that he was trying to make a bride for his friend, but, like, I believe they're still on the run from the police. Zombies are attacking them while they're trying to figure out how to make a better zombie. Because that's their goal, is to make a zombie. They just keep making shitty ones. The zombies are pretty cool because they're kind of like Frankenstein monsters in a way, where they're other dead things sewn together. There's a zombie cat, a zombie woman, there's a flying zombie head. I really like Reanimator because of behind the scenes. There's so much you can still spot in the movie. Where there's this zombie who's put in the mental institution because nobody knows that he's dead. They all assume that he's a living guy that just went crazy. And he's running around, and in the original script he was running around throwing himself against the walls and stuff. But the walls were made out of paper because they didn't have enough money. So in the shot that's in the movie, they told him to stay away from the walls. And there's a scene in the movie where he goes like this and he accidentally brushes up against a wall. And it just goes. And you can visibly see the set behind it. It's amazing. For Cemetery Man, the cast is this guy named Della Morte. And he works at the cemetery with this other guy, and I guess they're both supposed to be young guys, but they don't seem that way. Negan is, let's just say, pedophile. We're moving on from him. So far, Reanimator wins in the cast because they have a quirky scientist and a whore. Cemetery Man has a whore who's emo, an Italian, and a pedophile. So Reanimator wins in cast-wise. So they're gonna get a little R. Plot-wise, Cemetery Man is about a guy who falls easily in love, and he wants to find love desperately, but he can't. And there's rumors around town about him. Lots of rumors. Lots of different rumors. He's trying to find love, but people keep dying, and there's zombies he still has to kill. And then he's killed so many zombies that death comes to him. And so he's like, yeah, what do you want me to do about it? Death tells him to kill people instead. So he starts killing zombies and people. Plot-wise, Reanimator also wins. Outbreak. The Outbreak in Reanimator is a process that they have tried to make. They've been trying and trying to craft this perfect thing. There's a scene where it just gets out of hand. I can't remember who injected that many zombies, or how they all just suddenly decided to rise up like that. Oh wait, no, specifically with Bride of Reanimator, Herbert West was also living in a cemetery in a house, and I'm not going to spoil the movies too much. Damn it, I can't really talk about it. Just know he's working on this chemical to reanimate the dead in a cemetery, and he's trying to only reanimate one person. With the Outbreak in Cemetery Man, it's a consistent, the dead just come back to life and they have no idea how it happens. The main character literally says, I don't know if it's only in my town that they do this, but it's happening and I have to deal with it. And there's like this point in the movie where teenagers come up and they're like, please, please, can you let me see my dead lover one more time? I heard that the dead come back to life here. And he's like, hell no, get out of the cemetery. And she goes back into the cemetery anyways. Because she wanted to ask, do you love me or her? Because he died taking a girl with him. Technically, that girl was his girlfriend because he was betrothed to the mayor's daughter. But his heart belonged to this biker girl. Outbreak? Damn it, I would say that Reanimator actually gives an example for the Outbreak. So as much as it pains me, another one goes to Reanimator. Zombies in general. So the zombies in Reanimator, I've already mentioned them a lot. There are a ton of zombies in De La Morte de la More. They have, at the beginning, this one guy, he walks in, his face is all blue. He has deep eye bags, his hands look like they're covered in dirt. And he's holding a suitcase, and it pans close to his ear, and you can see a little ant crawl up his ear, which is an amazing detail. I really love the zombies in De La Morte de la More. One scene where it's a bunch of zombie Boy Scouts. There's the one where this guy's buried with a motorcycle and it comes flying out of the grave. There's the mayor's daughter who has her like head cut off and she sits in a TV. It's very fun with the zombies. You even get to see the mayor climb up the roof and he's like, you can't kill me, I'm the mayor. And the main character's like, yeah, ex-mayor. So I'm going to have to give it to Cemetery Man when it comes to the zombies. And for the taglines, the tagline for Reanimator, Bride of Reanimator specifically, is reanimate till death do us part. And the tagline for Cemetery Man is zombies, guns, and sex, oh my. Which, honestly, that one wraps it up, because while watching it, I kept sitting there like, there needs to be a sex, drugs, and rock and roll that excludes the drugs and rock and roll for this particular movie. And when I saw the tagline, I was like, yeah, that is the tagline for that movie. If you asked me what that tagline belonged to out of any movie, I probably could have guessed that it was Cemetery Man. So, cast-wise, Reanimator 1. Plot-wise, Reanimator 1. Outbreak-wise, Reanimator 1. But the zombies and the taglines? I'm giving that to Cemetery Man. Thank you. I just got back from editing, and I realized I forgot to say which one won. Reanimator won my system. It broke my system, and it won. Cemetery Man won my heart. Take that as you will. And that concludes our video. Fare thee well.